We're joined right now by Brown University's new offensive line coach, Mike McCarthy. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you guys having me. I'm really excited to spend some time with you.
Well, thanks for joining us. You come to Brown with some college and pro experience. You spent some time at Rutgers, in the NFL with the Lions, with the Browns, with the Jets, and I'm curious, how does that experience translate into what you want to do here in your new job at Brown?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the thing that translates the most is like whenever you're with the best athletes in the world, you kind of study those guys, how they do things day in and day out. And I think the three things that stick out to me is the consistency part of it. You know, the way that those guys come to work every day. You know, I think that's the biggest thing. And then there's obviously the ability to trust one another. Those guys have each other's back. They're cohesive. You know, they work together. They communicate. And they're chasing perfection every day. And I think that's the thing that separates those guys from everybody else.
Yeah, and I know I've talked to you about this as well, the preparation factor. These guys leave no stone unturned when it comes to getting themselves prepared week to week.
Absolutely. I mean, and preparation starts with their bodies, eating the right foods, you know, the flexibility, doing what more can you do every day to prepare, studying who you're going up against, the defenses, the situational part of football, third down, blitz packages, and those guys study it like you can't believe. I mean, they own it.
I've always said that offensive line is the most cerebral position, right? I mean, these guys, they're smart guys. They have to know what to do and when to do it. I also think they're maybe the most close-knit group on a football team, traditionally. When you're recruiting offensive linemen, what are some of the attributes you're looking for? Someone that plays offensive line for Coach McCarthy needs to be what?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing for us is we're looking for tough, rugged, all right, mentally tough individuals. I think we're looking for guys that are athletic, that can sink and bend from a flexible standpoint, and then guys that just love the game. I mean, you have to, when you're a Division I athlete, you have to love football, all right, and try to be the best that you can be day in and day out.
That's good. Coach, this is your first experience with the Ivy League. I'm curious, what does being a football coach here at Brown University mean to you?
Yeah, you know, for me, I mean, it's a tremendous opportunity. I'm truly excited about the tradition that is at this place, and as I move forward and as I'm here longer, I just see the history of this program, obviously with Coach Perry and some of the great players that have played, and even just the offensive line and the cohesiveness and the passion that people have for Brown University. I'm really excited to be here.
You just completed spring football. I'm curious, how did it go from your perspective, and were there any guys at your position on the O-line that really stood out to you?
Yeah, I think anytime you're a football coach, you're extremely critical of your position. And so I met with each guy individually today, and I told him, I said, hey, look, when this thing got started, there were a lot of moving parts, especially me, you know, starting spring ball. You know, I started a couple days before, so just getting everything wired and getting guys to get the right calls and communicate. But I think as it progressed, I think we did a tremendous job of continuous improvement. I thought our guys, the thing I love about them, we only had 8 of them, you know, and obviously I kept saying to them, hey, this is Iron Man football, man, and they bought in, and they just continued to hone in on the details and wanted to be coached and took every rep, never complained. So I think that's the thing about, you know, these guys that I'm most excited about.
And you've got some guys that do have experience, and I think some guys with great leadership skills as well. I think of a guy like Alsop. I mean, he's the type of guy that I think will really lead by example. You got Chad Broon-Webster at tackle for you. You know, Phil Lynch was an All-Ivy guy last year. So talk to us about some of the players individually.
Yeah, starting with Nick, he's our alpha dog. I mean, he's the leader of our group. He's a vocal guy. When you start hearing things going on, he's the guy that gets it wired. He's kind of the backbone. He gets everything coordinated, makes all the calls. He brings toughness. He plays the game the way it's supposed to be played. So starting with him, I'm extremely excited to have the opportunity to coach him. You know, then you go to Chad Broon-Webster. He's what you want in a left tackle. He has the athleticism. He has the length. He is a true pass protector, and that's the thing that I keep trying to get him with his pass sets. Every time you set a defender, you got to have a plan going in place. You know, just from what's my aiming point, all right, where my eyes are, and then once you get to the junction point, how am I going to punch him? Is he giving me a long arm? And just studying your rushers as you move on and understanding what they're trying to get done so you can eliminate what their strengths are. And then there's Phil Lynch. You know, Phil was our most consistent offensive lineman throughout spring. Obviously, he's played, you know, in the most games. And the thing I love about Phil is he's a violent finisher, and he plays the game the way it's supposed to be played.
All right, now we've got a couple of months here before the guys come back and report to camp in August. What's the message to these young men so that they can be ready to go in the middle of August for you?
Yeah, the message I had for these guys today was, hey, we got better with every single practice, and in Coach's offense with the fast, the mass chaos, I love it, and the thing for us is not to take a step back now. A lot of these guys, it took them about, honestly, 4 or 5 practices to get in that conditioning and that football, shape. So for us, I just told those guys, hey, I want to know exactly where you're working out. I want to know what your routine, your routine is day in and day out. And we just need, certain guys got to lose weight, certain guys got to put. So it's really taking care of their body in order to come into camp, because we don't have a lot of time once we get in camp before we start playing our opponents.
All right, Mike, it's great to have you here at Brown. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
He's the leader of the Hogs, Mike McCarthy, Brown's new offensive line coach.